everybody. Welcome back to another day in the life of an entrepreneur. And it's another Saturday, an awesome Saturday here in Vegas. Wherever you are, I hope you're enjoying the beautiful, beautiful weather. I am Rose, one of your hosts of Entrepreneur Life, and I'm here with...
Hi, everyone. It's Shamara with SWHR Consulting. We're so excited for another great show. We have a great guest today.
Well, first, I just want to say just thank you to everybody who's been tuning in on all of our podcasts. You know, we really, really appreciate everybody who just keeps coming back. I mean, I know we must be amazing, or these guests. Yes. I don't know what it is.
We're super excited and thankful for all of you guys out there that keeps coming back for more. So thank you.
Yes.
So do we dive in? Are we diving in?
I think that you should go ahead and talk about who we have, because look, I'm ready to go because I want to get to the music part. I know she's got a lot going on, but I'm really loving the music. So I'll let you do your thing.
So today we have a very special guest, and she goes by Empress. She is a 11-year dancing professional in the San Francisco Ballet. We're super excited to hear more about, what she's doing right now and how, her career in ballet has taken her now into her music. She's also won a Tony Award in the production of An American in Paris. So we're excited to hear more about that. And she does awesome music. And so we want to hear and how that transition occurred from being a dancer to now a singer, or if it was always a combination of both, which we're super excited to hear more about, and just her overall dreams and aspirations. So let's give it up for Empress. Are you there?
And I just want to say her picture does her no justice. Okay,
I know.
That's all I'm saying before I put her on screen. Okay. Hi.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, that was such a nice introduction. Jeez, who is that person?
Yes. So I wanted to say this picture right here is like
beautiful.
I don't know. It's like chocolate. Like you have to have it.
Yeah. You know what? The beauty of this picture is actually that a female took the photo. I love working with female photographers because there's something about that. We get it. We're like, oh, it took me like 60 pictures to get the jewel in the right spot for her. It's like she was such a perfectionist, and that's one of the reasons why I love that picture too, is the woman's perspective, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So for those who are really unaware, because we can't do you justice, just tell people about, about you, how you started.
Oh man, well, thank you so much again. So it started with music. Ironically, it has gone full circle back, and I'll get to the end of the circle by starting with music. So I started playing piano when I was 4 years old, and just doodling. There's not much structure to it. I just had a good ear for music, and I loved it. And every time I would listen to a Disney song or a soundtrack of my age range. Barney was not probably the best, but Disney mostly was like the soundtracks inspired me so much to move. And my parents didn't know what to do with a little girl except for sign them up for dance class. So I ended up enrolling in a ballet class when I was about 6 years old. Actually, there was one class that I took when I was 5, and I cried the entire time. And the teacher handed me back to my parents at the end of it and said, this is not working. Don't bring her back until she's ready. So I always joke that I got kicked out of my first ballet class. But a year later, we ran into that teacher, and she actually was like, you know what? I think your daughter's ready now to take a ballet class. And from then on, it was like I was sold on ballet. And that was kind of the beginning for me of my ballet career. I don't know how a child knows what they want to be when they grow up, but for me, I was set on being a ballerina, and that happened for me. So all the little steps that it takes to get you there. But I'll skip ahead to the part where I got hired at San Francisco Ballet, which was my dream company at the age of 16. I was the youngest in the company for a couple of years, actually, and it was a big learning, experience for me. And I danced there for 11 years, and it was a dreamy ballet career. And during the ballet career, I learned
how competitive is a ballet?
What?
How competitive is the industry? Because I only know about fame. You know what I mean?
It is. Let me just tell you, if I didn't start my career as a ballerina, if I did it in any other order, I don't think I could have been a ballerina. It's one of those things that once you've done it, everything's like a downhill from there. It's so competitive. It's not even necessarily competitive against other people as it is for yourself, because you're always trying to do better. Every performance is like, you could do it better this time. And yeah, I mean, you're dancing with the best dancers on the planet, and they're all, hungry and tired. So it can be hard. It's a tough career. It's not like anything else that I've ever done. So like I said, I'm so glad that I did it first and I had nothing to like compare it to, because it's just so hard. It's a great career. It's a dream come true. When you get into the company, especially as an American, it's really interesting. There were a lot of international dancers, because in the ballet world, they kind of like, they choose you by a body type in your, in the schools in Russia and France and Spain and China. They don't even let you learn how to dance until they like look you over, look your parents over, make sure that you've got the right body type to like learn how to dance. Whereas in America, we dance because we love it, and then we hit the jackpot if you actually have all of the things that normally, other countries who have been doing it for hundreds and thousands of years longer than you have, when you actually score and you have the right feet and you have the right turnout and you have the right body type, and you like fit the mold that is so hard to fit. So it was, for me anyway, it was like a dream come true. And I think especially being an American, being with all these international people who had been trained all over the world, it was like a huge learning lesson and experience. I was like the dry sponge that was just absorbing all the information visually, and I'd talk to people and be like, okay, how do you do that? It was a challenging career in a lot of ways, but I always like to see the glass mostly full on things. So I think, looking back, it's like I only remember the beauty and the great moments in my career. And speaking of great moments, I learned how to sing in the ballet. Who would ever say that? Ever. And I had never sung in my entire life, not even Happy Birthday to my family. And they had us audition for the singing role in a ballet. Like, go figure. It's actually the picture there's a picture in a purple. Yeah. That was in West Side Story Suite. I was 18 and I had never sung in my entire life. And they put a camera in front of us, like every dancer, privately, of course. But they took me into a room and made me sing. It was the most horrifying experience ever, because we are a visual art form. We are never heard. We're seen, we're not heard. We dance to music that you can hear, but it's not, we don't make noise. And I was always a loud ballerina, go figure. So I was always told to shut up. So this is like the first time someone was like, sing. So, that was quite the experience, and it went over really well. I got like the standing ovation and stuff. It was really cool. I was on the front page of the San Francisco Chronicle, and it totally like opened up this door 8 years later. So the San Francisco Ballet did that performance, and that night there was a choreographer named Christopher Wheeldon in the audience who heard me sing for the first time and was like, whoa, there's a ballerina who can sing, go figure. And that's random. But when he was casting his show as in American in Paris on Broadway, he thought of me because there were very few ballerinas who could sing, and that was part of the criteria. So I ended up getting a role in American in Paris, and that's how I transitioned onto the Broadway stage, which was amazing.
How did you know you were ready for
You're never ready. I mean, let's be real. I think I was ready to transition, but I didn't know that that was going to be my transition. And go figure, I go from the silent world of ballet to probably the noisiest city, people, everything, you know, like it was such an amazing thing. But, you know, it was really cool. I told my husband this the day we started rehearsals. It's like, okay, I feel like I've been a green alien my entire life around like these beautiful ballerinas. And then I went to Broadway and everyone was a green alien. So I was like, I met my people, you know, it was like, this is so amazing. There was like more people like me. So it opened this door. And I always say like, you know, I was silent for so long. And then I was like given this opportunity to be kind of noisy and loud and like, you know, unleash that side of me. And now I can't shut up. So that led me, you know, straight into the music world. And yeah, like I said, now I can't shut up. So here I am as Empress, and it was all because of the small incremental steps throughout my career that got me here. And it feels like it's full circle back to music, which is why I started all of this in the first place. So that was a long version of who I am. Sorry.
Where did Empress come from? I love your name. I love it.
You. Oh, thank you so much. I love it too. Okay, so it started as like this secret thing that I was already doing. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be my normal self, but I'm going to have this like alter ego and be like the ruler over my own life. And the way it came about was as an artist, I have been performing other, you know, like I've been working with the top choreographers in the world, dancing with the most amazing people, being clothed by the best costume designers and lit by these, you know, fabulous lighting designers who win Oscars, Tonys, Emmy, like everything. So I'm like, I've always been surrounded by amazing artists, but it was never mine. And I always felt like I was the canvas and, you know, and I loved being the canvas because you can kind of be so many things and it makes you grow as an artist and then pushes you. So with all of that knowledge, and I've worked with so many amazing people and I told you I was a dry sponge, so I was just absorbing as much as I can from everybody. One day I was sitting at the piano and I was singing my own song that I wrote the lyrics, and I was playing the piano and I was imagining myself dancing, and I was in my tutu, by the way, because I used to do this thing with my free time in between performances. You know, the shows sometimes are really long and you have like a little break here and there, 15-minute break. I would go down into the basement where the orchestra hangs out, and I would sneak into a rehearsal room, and there were pianos in all the rehearsal rooms. So here I am in my tutu and my point shoes, and I'm playing this song because I just felt like I needed to vent. And that was for me, music was a lot of venting at the time. Just, you know, it was like therapy almost. And then it also recharged me. So I was in this room and I was playing, and I was just like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do all of this at one time? And I was like, wait, I am. Like, I get to do, you know what I mean? It was like the epiphany that happened. And I thought, wow, I am in control over my life. Like no one else is in this body, and this is me, and I own it. And this is, you know, and I was literally wearing a tiara, and I thought, I love tiaras. Like, this is why I'm a dancer. Let's be real. And I feel like the Empress, you know, and I was like, wait, that's actually really interesting. And I started toying with it in my mind. And then I started researching to make sure, because my husband's an attorney. He's always like, well, can you trademark and patent or whatever, you know what I mean? So he's always like worried about that stuff. And so it turned into this like being the ruler over my own life, not trying to rule over anyone else, not trying to please anyone, not trying to, it's like a self-coronation.
Love it.
And
preach to us.
Yes, right? I mean, but then I thought, what if I could give that to other people, especially women? And how cool would the planet be if everybody was the ruler over their own life? I mean, that hit home for me. I thought that would actually be a catalyst for change if we could all be the Empress or Emperor over our own life. And so that's kind of how it all started. And then it just grew from there. And here I am.
When you said, when you had said one thing, which was, I am, I just have to say, this was the first one I listened to. And I feel like I could be wrong. I feel like you were expressing yourself. Because songs, they give you feeling in return. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's always that you can connect with. It's almost like the person is there. It's not just something they wrote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And it's really cool because that was the first song that I ever really wrote. And that was the one that I was playing in my tutu. And I was going through a rough patch at the ballet because, you know, it's ironic. You know, it's very similar. The ballet world is very similar to social media and how it is today, in the sense that it's all it's external beauty. It's all very outward facing, you know, stuff. But I was like going through, the change, the womanhood change, right? I was hired so young, at 16, I was still a girl, and then I turned into a woman in a ballet company. I mean, like, there is no more challenging experience as a woman to change, but then to do it in a ballet company where everything is based on how you look. So my body was changing, and I felt like it was just really hard for me because I felt like I was so in love with ballet, and I thought that they could see that, but all they were seeing was the external side. So I started crawling back into the inside deep, you know, caves of your soul, and started feeling like I'm lovely. I am a good person, even though I don't seem warm and fuzzy on the outside. Inside, I am. You know, it's like this inner yearning for people to see how I feel in a way, and that was hard in the ballet. It was very difficult to find the balance. And you know what ended up happening was when I started thinking, instead of like looking, I almost like blur my vision and not see myself or the reflection in the mirror. When I was on stage, there was no mirror. And so I just felt like if I just shine my light, people will see that over what they're seeing on, you know, like my boobs are growing and I'm like changing and you know, turning into a woman. I was like, maybe they'll see the bright light inside of me. And I ended up finding that taking care of my inner self actually helped people's like the way that they saw me. It changed. It was almost like an augmented reality filter. It was like, now I look prettier just because I felt prettier on the inside.
Right.
So finding that was like so powerful and really that was it for me. And also I didn't share that song with anybody for a very long time because I thought no one else in the whole world would ever understand what I'm trying to say. And when I played it for a few friends, isn't that
beautiful?
Classic? Thank you. And honestly, it was like, you know, you're just naked when you're putting out music. This is like, this is you. This is, there's no hiding anymore behind someone else or doing anything. So like when you're singing your own lyrics, people are like, wow, I feel like I know you now. So I felt like no one would understand my situation or my point of view or anything until I played it at a cast party in American in Paris, and it was all these Broadway stars. I was like, I'm not singing in front of people who sing for a living, like for, you know, their whole life. And it was actually an interesting circumstance because I always had a piano in a private room. So I'd always sneak my little tutu self, you know, and my point shoes. I'd sneak into a studio. I'd be by myself, private, and there was no performance aspect of it. But I was a performer, so it was like, it was interesting that I always shut that part of me off. Like I didn't want to perform my music because I am a performer and this is mine, you know. And I didn't have a piano for 3 months. We were opening American in Paris, and I didn't have a piano, and there was no empty studio space ever because it was in a beautiful theater, but small. So I never had time to play the piano by myself. And I saw this piano at this party, and I was like, okay, it's on. Like, I see you. Like, we're doing this. And I told I asked the host if I could play it first, and he goes, oh, sure. And I said, just don't tell anybody. I'm just going to go do it. And ding, ding, ding. You know, everybody, there's a concert happening here. I was like, no. Oh. But then I closed my eyes, of course. Like, I'm like, great. That was not what I wanted at all. But I really wanted to play the piano more than I didn't want to sing in front of my colleagues. So I closed my eyes, sang the song. When I opened my eyes, there were all different like faces, of course. There were some that were just like, wait, you play the piano? Like, you know, and then there was like, wait, who wrote the song? But there were a few girls there who had been in the ballet who just started, they were crying, like just flat out bawling their face off. And I actually, it was the first time that it hit me like, wait, people understand what I'm saying. Like, you understand? I mean, it was this connection thing that I didn't realize that I could have as an artist.
Do you like to play it a little bit?
What? Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I wrote. So, okay, so for those who are listening and maybe not watching live, and so this says The Empress Was Lovely I Am. And if you really have to go to YouTube or just go visit our page, you'll go right to it, entrepreneurlife.show, and it'll take you there to see the actual video. It's just lovely.
By the way, that position is so hard. It's like so tight.
Pretty to you, you're lovely, I am. It may not seem warm or fuzzy on the outside, but inside I am. I try to obey your rules, don't think that I can. The lies you tell can be true. You created the monster I am. Don't you see? You can't defeat me. If we keep playing a game where I'm set up to lose and you're set up to win. So I smile and I dance to the music. I can dance all over it. Feel the stage of my presence, live within my essence. And when you're smiling and dance to the music, you can dance all over it.
I like the music, but the words are very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional.
Lovely I am. I am when I dance. I wasted away to the bone. I did it for you. These misses are all.
So I do want to get to a few of your other songs, but this is my favorite. I think maybe because I connect with it the most.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and of course there's a few things I think, and the other one I'll show you, but I felt like it was like I said, you were telling a story, which you basically were.
Yeah. That was a year in the life of being a ballerina. These blisters, you know, it's like when you
and I was
do
gonna
things.
ask you about that. Like,
yeah,
just your feet and just the pain and just everything, I think, was just expressed in the music because of so much that you have to go through, and just having the fact that they only see the outer you and you just have to put on that show. It was just, I love that. I love the music.
What does good feet mean? I'm sorry, that's a dumb question. What does it mean by, like, when you have to have good feet? Because I've heard that before.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm going to show you my foot because it's the only way I can show you. I'm a visual learner, and I'm sure other people are. And I'm so sorry, but that's my foot. So see, there's like an arch here, and it's like I've got like a long, you know, like, and then it's more like an L or something, I guess. That is like, you know, you want your foot to be as flexible as possible, and I had really flexible feet, but they were super strong too, because like, you know, if you're too flexible and you know, you're like falling over your own feet, that's not good either. But I had really strong feet, and they were really archy, I guess. If they're more like flat-footed, it's just, you know, not ideal, I guess.
Yeah, I tried ballet, couldn't do it. I had flat feet.
Do you have flat feet? Damn. Yeah, I was like,
and I love ballet.
Honestly, I didn't even know I had good feet until I got into the company, and I was like, oh, like not everybody has flexible feet. And there's tricks, by the way, honey. There's like people put like, they call them farches in their shoes, and they like make it look like they've got a bigger arch. I mean, it's kind of funny, but you know, I actually got more flexible throughout my career because I tore like pretty much every ligament throughout the 11 years.
Wow.
So I've torn everything in my ankles. So now they're even more loosey-goosey. And Yeah, so that's good
a
feet.
little bit of an art from wearing heels. Does that?
Yes, exactly. And actually, the more you stretch those things out, there's something to that. The ligaments, they start stretching. I mean, it's like anything. If you stretch, you get more flexible. So if you keep pushing it, you can get it. But like, isn't that kind of a messed up thing to say? Even if you could just keep pushing it, it's like, oh man, it's not natural at all.
Because I know ballet shoes aren't very comfortable.
They are not at all. Yeah, they're just, it's unbelievable. And like we used to joke, like definitely like men created high heels and point shoes to like punish women for being prettier or something, like they are so horrible. And the funny part is like, well, a lot of dancers will beg to differ, but they just have really high pain tolerances, and I'm always impressed with them. But the oh man, I just lost my train of thought, and that was probably good. It was probably good that I lost my train of thought, because I was going to go into the nitty gritty, and I'm like, it's okay. I got blisters throughout my career, and it was, I don't know, a lot of false promises from my teachers that were like, oh no, you'll callus someday, and they never calloused, and so I had bloody toes a lot in my career, and it's
Wow.
just crazy. I even look back, I'm like, how did I do that?
It's that torture.
Yeah, but it kind of,
what happened. It created great music.
Yeah, I mean, everything happens in life, and if you look at it with the glass mostly full, then it's going to benefit you in some way, no matter how negative or positive it is on the spectrum. If you kind of like don't get stuck there and you keep moving forward through it, then it becomes a valuable lesson that you never want to have to learn something twice. Let's just put it that way. I never had the same injury twice. There was never like a repeating pattern. But you just have to keep moving forward. And with the video, like just watching it, it reminds me of how hard I was trying to please everyone else outwardly. It's like something that I think we all struggle with. I mean, it's something that I'm not like a pro in this at all, but I think finding the place where it actually matters to take care of yourself more than others, because you're actually taking care of others by taking care of yourself. When I realized that by really taking care of my body, resting properly, eating properly, to really be healthy on the inside, I was actually a better employee to the San Francisco Ballet, or on Broadway, doing 8 shows a week. It's no joke. You have to really take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself because you're pushing yourself for someone else and you get injured, it's your problem, and they're actually angry at you. So it's like, like they have to recast and they have to do this whole thing, and it makes everyone's job harder if you didn't take care of yourself. But the irony is you're usually trying to please someone else, when you're not taking care of yourself. And so finding that balance.
It's so crazy that you say that, because we talk about this all the time. In terms of just self-discovery and really starting to love yourself again, because I think we live in the world of, like you said, always trying to please other people, but at the end of the day, you're never going to please anyone. And if you stop loving yourself, it just makes it a challenge for you to like move forward. So we always talk about that, in terms of our journeys in regards to that. I think I'm still learning that lesson as well, in terms of, it's about me.
Yes. And then that returns back to how I chose Empress. It was like, wow, if there's so much, especially being in the ballet world, where we actually, I've played a queen, an empress, I've played like all these roles before, and there's definitely like, I've also played the peasant and the princess and the littler, like the different roles. And there's some things like that I learned, because it's always keeping history and like learning about this crown, this like idea of an actual symbol thing, that people put on their heads. There was so much insecurity, to me anyways, just looking at wearing a crown, because it's never theirs. I mean, there's something symbolic about the fact that the crown gets passed on, right? So it's never owned by them. And then if you look into history, it's like people, killed for this crown, and then it ultimately ate them alive and spat them out on the other side, and it was given to the next one. So how cool would it be, the concept of everybody owning their own crown, and they didn't need someone else to crown them, that it was a self-coronation.
Right.
And how would that change the dynamics within, like, you know, let's talk about like an empire or a palace or something. You know, there's always so many dynamics because people need something from someone else. Well, if they don't need something from someone else, how does that change how we live life? You know, if we're not trying to backstab someone to get someone else and all this stuff, if you're just like okay with yourself and you own your own crown and you don't need anything from anyone else, you're easier, you know, it's freer. It's just amazing. That changes all the dynamics. You know, we don't, you know, point the finger outwardly anymore. We're pointing inwardly, which is lovely. I am is going inside and shining from the inside out instead of trying to wear it all on the external side of ourselves, which, you know, eventually can break you.
You know, how I would think that I have to assume that, you know, being on, you can retake commercials, you can retake on TV,
Yeah.
when you're doing a movie, but when you're in theater and on Broadway, there's like one take and perfection.
Yeah.
And it has to be extremely like stressful. Like even how is it not on your mind when you're on stage? You're trying not to mess up, but you're trying not to think about messing up and doing your thing. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? It's interesting because first of all, you have a longer rehearsal period for one show on Broadway. So preparing for success is like ultimately what always leads to success. First of all, you don't get onto a Broadway stage without auditioning, and auditioning means that you're competing against a lot of people who would be really good at the part too. And then getting the part means you were perfect for the role and the company like trusts you. And so you come in with this definitely like, I don't know, confidence. Whereas in the ballet, you know, you're always competing and it's a smaller pool of people. So it can become very catty and whatever. It's harder to be a supportive woman in that kind of environment because you're being put up against 30 other girls that are all your friends for one part. And then that one person's going to get it. But if they have a bad show, then they're taken out. And it's like, it can be very dramatic, you know, melodramatic. But on Broadway, there's one person and that's you. And so it gives you this confidence and you have a long rehearsal process to get ready. There's lots of changes that happen and they're small until opening night. And then opening night happens and you've got this in the bag. I mean, you've been cast, you're perfect for this part. You know it inside and out and you feel comfortable doing it. So for me, it wasn't very nerve-wracking being on Broadway because I was like, A, confident, and B, I knew what I was doing. So it was like, you know, those are the keys to success. And doing it every show, I used to get really upset at myself if I messed up in a show and I fell really, really hard. It was like, it was a funny fall, but it was like, it was more embarrassing because it was in this really quiet scene and, you know, it just was so out of place. And like, I was center stage and it was like a boom, you know, and it was so embarrassing. I got off stage and at the end of the show, like you kind of have to compartmentalize when you're doing a show. You can't really react the way that you normally would, and you have to like save that reaction for later because you have a quick change and you have to get to the other side of the stage and get on stage and be happy and blah, 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 you know, so you compartmentalize. You're like, I'll deal with that emotion later, but like now I just have to stuff it under the rug and, you know, whatever. So after the show, I was really upset. And I remember one of the girls came over to me and I was crying and I was just like, oh, I just, you know, I want to just be perfect all the time. She goes, oh, honey, we have 8 shows a week indefinitely. She goes, just kind of like think of an average, like a batting average. And she started explaining these shows to me as if, you know, you have to like look at, instead of looking at the micro chips, you have to look at the whole picture, right? It's like, you know, your batting average. What is your batting average? If you have one bad show in the week, but you did 7 really good shows, then you did 7 really good shows and focus on that more. And that actually helped me with the Broadway life because 8 shows a week, you know, I did 100 shows straight without like stopping once. And then, you know, I took a day off, I think, you know, because I just needed it, but, and your body needs it. But we did like over 1,000 shows or something crazy like that on Broadway. And so, you know, one bad show here and there, if you get upset about that, then that's going to weigh you down and just, you know, make you miserable. So you kind of have to just drop it, honestly.
It really has to then affect like your family life and friends, like wanting to have family and relationship because it's so intense, the amount of work and rehearsal.
Yeah, I guess I didn't see that. I mean, I was so young when I joined San Francisco Ballet that I didn't really see it that way at the time. And then because I just kept doing it and I had the, like, you know, the blinders on, I didn't really realize how exhausted I was. The past couple years, I feel like I've slept more than I have ever slept in my entire life because I haven't been performing and getting ready for something. And it requires so much discipline that you don't even realize you're doing it when you're in it. And you don't care because you love it so much. And, you know, it's a discipline that, and a formula that you learn as, you know, as a kid is like, if you get good at one thing, you understand that there's a formula involved. It's like practice. You work smart, not just hard. You like figure out, you know, the politics, and then you can take that knowledge and then apply that to anything that you do in life. And so I still do a lot of that, but I don't think, like I said in the beginning, I don't think I could go back and be a ballerina because it's so difficult. But if you're in it and you're like in that bubble, you don't realize because everyone else is doing it with you. So you don't realize. But yeah, I've been spending more time with my family. My husband is like the most supportive man on the planet. And he was amazing because he was flying back and forth from San Francisco to New York because I was in New York full time. And it was harder than I think. Like now being with him 24/7, especially with this global pandemic, I'm like, oh, I'm obsessed with being with you all the time. This is the best. And, you know, I'm like, oh, how much time did we not have? You know, like when I was in New York all the time, it was just, you know, you look back and you're like, oh, well, that could have been so much more fun if you were there all the time, you know, but, and I had energy, but I was tired and I didn't realize it until I stopped. Yeah.
So I was hoping we could do. I wanted to talk about because I listened to this one too, all in my head.
Oh yes.
And I think I told you when I heard I'm an Evanescence fan.
Yes.
And some people don't know, you know, she's lovely, and so I just automatically engaged to it. So if you don't mind, if we can play that.
Oh please, I love the song.
I love the whole cover.
Yes. Isn't that cool? Inner beauty, people.
I like the I don't know, the sultriness.
Yeah.
In your voice.
Thank you.
You know, it's like it's very melodic.
Mm-hmm. But like super laid back. It's not like in your face. Yeah.
I just love this song. I remember when I was listening, I told Tamara, I was like, have you heard her music though? And of course. And I noticed the pattern of the crown.
Yeah. Whenever I can, I wear a crown.
I'm safe but lonely. Don't treat me like a damsel. I'm not distressed, just obsessed. And I miss your body. And time goes by so slowly. 'Cause all I wanna do is touch your body, feel your skin.
I just love it.
You know you like it. Let's get like it. It goes again. It's all in my head.
So do you take any of the words that you from your music from just life experiences? Because I actually still feel like this is from your talking.
Yeah. This is funny because this was like being across the country from my husband. it was like I would have all of these like memories and things that I would just like, you know, I would think about him, and then I'd be like, but it's all in my head. You know, it's like the relationship went from being physical to he's across the country, and this was my decision to be across the country, and it was a, you know, a dream come true to be on Broadway. And he was so supportive, and I'm so grateful for that, but I really missed him. So this was like, this drew from, you know, just being across the country and having a relationship that turned into like, you know, again, it goes inside, you know, but that was like, you know, I just missed him physically, emotionally, you know, just like being next to him is he's my Prince Charming. So, or my emperor, I guess I could say now, but, but yeah, this was the first song. So I met this girl in New York who's amazing, and she actually introduced me to, and this is, by the way, this is how everything works. It's all in who you know, right?
Right.
So this girl that I met through our mutual friend, Rob and I's good friend, she heard my music. We were at a lunch a couple years ago, and Rob, my husband, is like so sweet. He was just really proud husband. And he's like, Shannon just recorded a couple songs. You want to hear? And so she, you know, she listened to the songs, and she goes, okay, you need to stop everything you're doing and go meet this guy in LA. And so I did. His name's Bart Shodell, and he listened to all the music that I had worked on and was like, yeah, it's okay. And that's, you know, he's like, you're talented, but like none of these songs, you know, in my world. And this guy has been, his Grammy nominations stem from his work with Justin Bieber and Beyonce. So his realm of pop artists are pretty high up on the echelon levels, right? So I listened to him, and I, you know, part of being, because I'm on Entrepreneur Life, part of being an entrepreneur, and I consider the music industry being an entrepreneur, is being open to, you know, you can't be closed off to people, right, especially when you've chosen to like ask them their opinion and you know their career and their success levels. I was very open, and I wasn't offended at all. I was like, that's cool. You know, I'm an artist, so I can create. Like, that's not a problem. But if I'm like anything else, if you're working smart, not just hard, then that's the difference between a successful person and maybe someone that's just going to work their butt off, but in the wrong direction and just kind of get off the path.
Right.
So I thought, well, great, I want to go that direction. So let's talk more. So he kind of gave me an idea of what style music to play and to work on. And I'd send him stuff and be like, it's getting closer, which means no in a nice way. And then I sent him this song, and this was just a crappy recording on my phone. And I just sent it to him, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to see what he thinks about this song. There's nothing to it as far as the melody was the only real thing. I had chords, and that was it. And so I sent it to him. He didn't even listen to the whole thing, and he called me, which never happened, by the way, you know, until then. Called me, he goes, yes, 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 come down to LA, let's record this. That was my gateway to working with him. And so that was this song, and it was cool. That was my first little, oh yes, okay, we've got something. And then, you know, the rest is history. So we're still working together, and I love him to death, and he's super talented. The Lady Gaga album that just came out is, you know, he's been working on that for a couple of years. He's just amazing. The guy is so talented.
So do you
think so that means the album is coming out soon then?
Yeah, I mean, so with the whole pandemic, it was like I didn't know what to do with this. We've been sitting on music for a long time, and I took a pause. I feel like I got sick for a really long time. I just got my antibodies back, and I guess I did not have the coronavirus, knock on wood. But I got the flu really bad, like after a big concert in Mexico City, and I was out for a while, and then I got laryngitis. So it was like this whole thing. So that slowed down the music, you know, releases and stuff. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to release it now. I mean, because at the time it was like, I don't want to feel out of touch. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world. And now it seems like it's a little bit more, you know, like people are like, okay, we're ready for something new to listen to. So I will be releasing new music, and we're planning the release of all of that. And Yeah, it's so great because the next set of music that I will be releasing is, I mean, these are all really great songs to like kind of understand they're like little taste buds, but there's like some music that like just, it speaks to women, I think, and empowerment in general, you know, and so I'm really excited to just kind of start releasing those melodies and tunes.
Because you said that about speaking to women, I feel like nowadays there's some, I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want people to come after me.
Yeah.
But there's some
offending people, Rose.
You know what? Okay, there's been like, I like a lot of people. I like melodic music, you know. Tom Jones, I would still like do him today because I like Tom Jones. But anyway, okay, so I like Mariah Carey and I like Beyonce, but it seems like people start out, you know, with their true selves in music, and that's when you connect to them because you're like, you feel it. It's kind of like acting, you know, a good actress or something.
Yeah,
it's in their eyes, it's in their expression. But then they change to sell records.
Yes.
Yeah. And so people would rather go to sell records than be true to themselves in the music that really connects you to the artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I totally do. And it's interesting because, you know, that's the big dilemma of I mean, we talked about this the other day. I had a group of friends and we jammed out to the new Lady Gaga album and we're like, she's back. Like this album was it was so like why we all fell in love with Lady Gaga in the first place. It was like, yay, she's back, you know? And we were talking about just how artists kind of, you know, they have to play the game at some point, but when do you start playing the game for yourself again? So you start playing, you never start as an artist to be famous and to be rich. You start because you love it. And that is, if you start for any other reason than that, then you are in the wrong industry because it's way too hard to do unless you absolutely love it to the core. That I always tell that to ballerinas, and if I ever teach ballet, you know, you have to love it more than like your worst day in your life. You still have to love it. That has to be the common denominator underneath all of that. And because there's a lot of really tough days that you only get through if you have people around you that love you more than what you're doing for a living, or you love it, you know, more than that bad day. But so you don't start because you want to make money and do this stuff, but then you start and you realize that you can't do these things unless you make money. So then there's this part where you actually have to be kind of, you know, that we're on entrepreneur life. You have to actually make money. You have to learn how to be self-sustainable and get to a place where people are actually hearing your music the way that you want to, because no artist really wants to just put it out there and just, I mean, if you put your heart and soul into something and you believe that you're good enough to achieve greatness, you don't want to just put stuff out that nobody's listening to and nobody's affected by. But then, you know, there's all these formulas now with pop music where you can actually, you know, get people to like the song quicker because you use words that are popular and you have a second intro, and there's formulas. But when has that ever worked for the great people that we all remember, you know?
Yes, yeah.
What is the Bohemian Rhapsody? Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, right? Is that that's the name of it?
Yes.
It was like 7 minutes long. People were like, you just shattered all of our ideas of what we should and should not be doing. Beatles did the same thing. They're like, you know, we're going to go raunchy. I want to hold your hand. And everyone was like, oh, you know, it's too much. But they push the envelope. And so when you break out of those confines, like, you know, that's when greatness happens, which is the irony of it all, because you do need to make a living. And I understand that, you know, the more famous you get, the more people and things that are told to you, you know, and it's hard. It's hard to navigate as an artist because there's a lot of smart people around you that are telling you what to do and you trust them. And sometimes they're not, you know, it actually means that you're giving over your crown basically to someone else.
Right.
You're not listening.
I can see why entertainers have breakdowns and things, because it's like now they don't even know who they are or what they're doing anymore.
Yeah, it can be very confusing. Yeah, totally. It's important to me to not only be the ruler over my own life, but my career as well. And it's difficult though, because, you know, a lot of people have their opinions that you listen to, and then you have to decipher what is important to listen to and what isn't. And you're the CEO over your own life, so you have to make those tough decisions sometimes, and things change. So you also have to be very agile, because, for instance, this pandemic, like, you know, there were a lot of industries in the performing arts specifically that had no incentive of changing ever. And then all of a sudden, bam, it changed, and nobody's taking the blame and nobody gets to take the credit. It just changed, you know, and it can be a good thing. And I thought it was, you know, it needed to happen eventually, and it just happened. I mean, and that's beautiful. If you can kind of roll with it and be agile, and, you know.
I think this pandemic has opened up a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is the perfect time to, you know, reevaluate and reassess.
Yes, it totally is. And it's great for creatives, because this is the time that we never had to work on something that was very time consuming. I mean, it's time consuming writing music. People don't think about, when you're writing, you write a bunch of songs and then only a few of them make it onto the actual album. I've recorded tons of music, and you're only going to hear a few of them for now. Maybe like later on when I'm famous, like then I'll start releasing other stuff like, this is what I wrote first or whatever, but probably not, because I will have created so many more things by then that it's just, you know, it's like, it's just part of the process, and you have to love the process in whatever you're doing in order to be really successful, because it's all about the process, you know?
Do you think if you had not followed the profession of dance, that you wouldn't have really realized that really what you really wanted to do was music?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I always loved music and all, but I don't think I would have thought of it as a profession. This all comes from my mom being so supportive. My mom and dad were so supportive, and they actually like asked us as kids, my siblings and I, to really dream big when we were kids, and then they would like help us with that. So we took a trip to San Francisco when I was like 9, and I had just written down when I was 7 that I wanted to be a ballerina, I wanted to be a singer, and I wanted to be an actress. And those were the 3 things in my life that I was like, I'm going to do. I know I'm not alone there, because there's a lot of little girls who want to be ballerinas. So it was cool though, because my parents, thank you. My parents drove into San Francisco just to drive me to the Opera House, and peek in and see where the San Francisco Ballet performs, so that I could now see my dream. And then from there, you know, it was so cool. Like what my parents did, they tell me to dream big always. And now as an adult, I look back and I kind of think about dreaming big, and my addition to that is kind of find little times in life like now and ask yourself if you're dreaming big enough, because there's times where I felt like, you know, the 7-year-old self in me didn't know about all of this other stuff that I need to have before I could achieve this dream. So now I have to like make sure that, you know, the outcome is the same, but am I dreaming big enough? Because that outcome actually isn't as big as if I did that, you know? So just ask yourself kind of consistently throughout your life as an adult, you know, dream big, but then ask yourself if you're dreaming big enough.
I love how empowered you are. I just love, you know, just your words and the language, you know, it's so motivating to hear, you know, someone like yourself, because that's what this show is all about, is about entrepreneurship, is about inspiring, is about telling people stories, right? And empowering others to like never give up on your dream, just keep going. So, it's great. Do you do any type of mentorship or anything now with little girls, or?
You know, I haven't reached out in a while, because you know, I felt like this was my time to grow in a way. Like there's something to being successful in a new profession. Like, and I know what goes into like what I had to do to become a professional ballerina. It was so much work. And then getting onto Broadway and doing all the extracurricular stuff. I felt like I didn't have enough, like, I didn't have enough of the like accolades yet to be able to be a mentor. You know, I want to achieve some of my goals before I can feel like I can pass the torch. But you know, but in the ballet world, yeah, I've taught so many ballet classes and try to inspire girls to not, it's not just to be a ballerina, it's to be focused and 100% where you are when you're there. It's like, that's the key. And then like learn a formula, like a success formula. If you are achieving success in one area in your life, you can learn how to apply that in others. So it doesn't actually matter if they're going to be a professional ballerina or not. It's like just the mind-body connection, learning choreography, and like actually learning spatial awareness. You know, it like helps everything in life. Ballet is really helpful just for grace and knowing how to use your body, and you know, all of those beautiful things. Connects
Discipline for sure.
Oh, girl,
Do you
totally.
feel pressure coming from parents, or especially mothers, you know, their daughters in the industry? You know, I would think so, because I've only seen like, you know, dance movies and things, but it seems like that, you know, what you can't eat, what you have to look like.
My mom never knew. It was so great. She was so supportive, but we kind of learned as we went. I was the oldest of three, and so I was her first child, and so she didn't know anything about ballet. There was no one in our family that we could just go like, oh, well, we can ask her what to do. We figured it out as we went, but honestly, she was so helpful because she taught me about nutrition at a young age, so I was good there. I ended up having to turn on and like lean heavily on that when I went through like the change to become a woman. I ended up going into being a raw foodist in order to stay thin enough to be in the ballet and compete with girls who, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of eating disorders that happen in the ballet. Well, why beat around the bush? That's just what happens. The irony of all of that is my career was 11 years long, and I think that speaks. And I didn't have to retire. I just transitioned to do Broadway, and I could still be dancing because my body is still healthy. But I think the key there is that 11 years, there are a lot of girls who did not take care of their bodies, and their careers were much shorter, you know, 2-3 years sometimes. They get injured and they don't recover because their body has no nutrition to recover, or they have big problems later on in their life, and a lot of them die of like cancers and, you know, horrible things because their bodies were just malnourished. And so raw food helped me because I was eating constantly, and I could, you know, you just literally cannot be fat when you're eating food as close to as nature intended it to be as possible. And that was it was helpful for me because I also recovered from injuries much faster. I had much more energy. It was great. So now I'm like, you know, I eat healthy, but I'm not a raw foodist. That was intense. Let's be real. I'm all about the chocolate now.
You're living the life.
Yes, I am living that life. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show, because, you know, and how I mean, you are very impressive. I'm not saying that because you're on the show, because I mean, I just really enjoyed everything about, you know, we didn't actually just read your bio. As you see, we want to listen and see everything.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Very impressed. And I think for all of the women, it is a great story and a journey. And I think everybody should listen to your music and download it on Spotify. So
thank you.
I really love it. So, but before we go, I want to make sure that everybody who's listening on any of your favorite podcasts or watching live, that you can find everything about the Empress. We have the website, her website, how to get in touch with her. And I wanted to see if people, I don't know if they could hire you to speak or how, when they contact you, because, you know, you're going to be on our page, entrepreneurlife.show. But really, people, this just isn't really enough. You're being on here on this platform without people really seeing what you do and hearing your music. Like, seriously.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I am open to a lot of like just everything right now, because I feel like, especially at the music industry, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on. This is like a new industry for me, and I'm just taking what I've known and what I've done from other careers in the arts, and just applying that to here, to this profession. And so, yeah, I'm open for everything right now, especially with this pandemic. We're all just trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm available. Just contact me, and I will always respond.
Okay, so thanks everybody. Thanks for listening and watching. And of course, you can go to entrepreneurlife.show. You'll be able to see the whole live video. And if you are listening, you can still go to entrepreneurlife.show. And then if we can have the Empress, Shannon, just give you her website. And even though you can see it on the screen, just for you guys who's listening who may not want to go and look at the live.
Yeah, there's my website for Empress is www.empress-music.com, and you can find everything you need to know about me there. It's all in one place.
Perfect.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I like the fact that you wore the emerald. It matched your crown. So yeah, I was.
Thank you. Thanks for noticing. See, girls notice details. Ladies, it was so empowering to talk to really strong women like you too. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and keep going.
Yes,
you are Empresses.
Rose, woohoo!
Happy Saturday, everybody. Bye. Until next Saturday.